traders, and welcome to another exciting edition of our weekly XAUSD and GBPUSD trade analysis. Okay, so I'm excited to be here with you as we dive into the dynamic world of Forex trading. So in today's video, we'll be dissecting the price action for XAUSD and GBPUSD, identifying key and potential levels on the charts, and discussing potential strategies for the week ahead.
Remember, we always do a weekly analysis just to ascertain what we should be expecting for the coming week, guys. So right here on my screen is GBPUSD. As you can see, it's on a daily time frame, as you can see. So we have some marked out zones on this pair on my screen, as you can see, that we are looking out for the coming week. But before we dive in, remember last week we did some analysis and we're expecting price to move upward to come to respect this trend line, or whether break out of it to the next resistance zone just above. So I'm just going to change the color of this. So we're expecting price to move upward to respect this resistance zone right here, and price is actually on the move. So for next week on GBPUSD on the daily time frame, so we'll be expecting price to continue upward to respect this resistance zone right here, or possibly break out of it to the next resistance zone just above. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we'll be expecting price to come down to respect this support zone right here, or possibly break out of it to the next support zone just below. So guys, we'll move over to the 4 hours time frame. Remember, we always do a top down analysis so as to get a clearer picture of what you should be expecting. So guys, we'll move over to the 4 hours time frame so we can see some other zones that we need to pay close attention to, guys. Alright guys, so right here on my screen is the 4 hours time frame on GBPUSD. As you can see, there are some zones that were not really clear on the higher time frame, which is the daily time frame, that are now clear on the 4 hours time frame. So I'm just going to be taking a few things off for us to see clearly. So as you can see, this was a support zone. This was the previous resistance zone which price broke out from and turned into a support, which we marked out on the higher time frame, that's the daily time frame. This is also another support zone that has been holding. This is a support zone that has also been holding, that we marked. All these zones were marked out on the daily time frame. This is a very valid resistance zone. If you can trace it back, you see that it's still very valid. Price came here to test this resistance zone before coming down, and then price still came back to retest it right here. So for next week on GBPUSD, we'll be expecting price to still move upward to respect this resistance zone right here before any retracement downward, or even a breakout from this resistance zone to the upside. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we're expecting price to either come down to respect this support zone before continuing upward, or possibly break out of the support zone to the next support zone just below. So I'll just draw that out real quick, guys, so we don't get really confused. So for next week on the 4 hours time frame on GBPUSD, we'll be expecting price to continue upward, so either respect this resistance zone right here, or possibly break out of it to the next resistance zone just above. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we're expecting this support zone right here to hold. That's price to respect this support zone and reverse upward, or possibly price to break out of the support zone and continue to the next support zone just below, guys. So that will be all for the 4 hours time frame. Let's move over to the 1 hour time frame so we can still pick out some key zones that we need to pay close attention to for next week, guys. Alright, so as you can see, the support and the resistance zone that we marked out on the higher time frame, which is now showing that price was ranging in between those two zones we marked out. So for next week, guys, as you can see, the support zone has been holding. It wasn't very visible on the higher time frame, but now on the lower time frame, which is the 1 hour time frame, is very visible. So this, it has been holding for a while. So for the coming week on the 1 hour time frame, we're expecting price to continue. It has broken out of this trend line. We're expecting price to continue upward, to come and respect this resistance zone, or possibly break out of it, or that resistance zone, and continue above. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse in the 1 hour time frame, we're expecting price to break out of this support zone, then continue downward to the next support just below. So guys, that will be all for GBP USD. We are going to move over to XAUSD, so we can also mark out some zones that we need to pay close attention to for the coming week, guys. Alright guys, so this is XAUSD. Just like we did on GBP USD, we're going to do a top-down analysis from the 4 hours time frame down, from the daily time frame rather, down to the 1 hour time frame, so we can get clearer zones and key possibility of zones that price is going to retest, or possibly break out of for next week. So right here on my screen is the daily time frame on XAUSD gold. So as you can see, gold has been ranging on the daily time frame for a while. It has been ranging in between this resistance zone and this support zone right here, which is a very valid support zone. So for next week, guys, we'll be expecting, since it has broken out of this resistance zone right here, this was a resistance zone that held for some weeks now. So since it has broken out of this resistance zone, we're expecting price to retest this resistance zone before continuing upward. So we are just expecting a continuation to the upside from XAUSD. On the flip side, if price decides to retrace, that's to come down from this zone, we'll be expecting price to retest this zone before continuing downward to this support zone right here. We'll be expecting price to continue upward to this resistance zone just above. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we're expecting price to continue downward to respect this support zone, which has been holding for a while, guys. So we'll still move over to the 4 hours time frame, so we can get a clearer picture of these zones that we've marked out right here. Alright guys, so this is the 4 hours time frame for XAUUSD. As you can see, just like we said on the daily time frame, price has been ranging in between this resistance zone and the support zone right here, and this is a very valid support zone, as you can see. So right here you can see that this was a valid resistance zone that was a previous support, and then price broke out of it, turned it into a resistance zone. So right here you can see that price broke out of this resistance zone right here, so we'll be expecting price to continue upward to the next resistance zone just above. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we'll be expecting price to reverse downward to this support zone just below, guys. For next week on the 4 hours time frame for XAUSD, since it has broken out of this resistance zone right here, we'll be expecting price to continue upward to this resistance zone right here. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we're expecting price to break out of this support right here. This is the support. We're expecting price to break out of it, then continue downward to this support zone right here, guys. So we're expecting price to break out of this support zone, continue downward to this support zone right here. So guys, that will be all for the 4 hours time frame on XAUSD. We'll still move over to the 1 hour time frame, so we can get a clearer view of the zones we need to look out for. Alright, so guys, welcome back. So this is the 1 hour time frame. This is the 1 hour view of XAUUSD. As you can see on my screen, you can see the value ranging of price in between these zones. You can see that this support zone has been holding for a while, as you can see. So right here, just like we expected on the other time frames, price has broken out of this zone, right? So for next week, we're expecting continuation to the upside for XAUSD. We're expecting price to continue upward to respect this resistance zone that has been holding for a while. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, we'll be expecting price to come down to respect this, to break out of this support zone possibly respect the next support zone or break out of it to the next very valid support zone that has been holding for weeks, guys. So guys, that will be all for our weekly forecast. So generally on XAUUSD, we're expecting some continuation to the upside for price. But on the flip side, if price decides to reverse from where it is, I'm expecting price to break out of a few support zones and then continue to the very valid support zone that has been holding for a while. So guys, that will be okay guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of our weekly forecast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also turn on the notification so as to get notified on whenever we post our weekly forecast. And also guys, please don't forget to join us on our weekly webinars, which are hosted every Wednesdays. You can check through the description of this video to get the link to our Telegram channel. Please don't miss out on the webinars. It's always educative, always captivating, and we share insights on Forex trading as a whole. Please join us. Much love from FX. See you next week, same time, same station. GM guys.